The term Mecca is used to describe a place that is a gathering for a specified group, whether religious, political, or cultural. Of course, the city of Mecca, the origin of the term, is the most famous one for Muslims, but there are plenty of other examples. Jerusalem for Judaism and Christianity, Washington, D.C. for us Americans, for the most part, Atlanta, the Mecca for hip-hop, Pro Sports Hall of Fame all over the world, the ABBA Museum in Stockholm, the spot where Joey Chestnut first broke the hot dog eating record. I'm getting a little emotional just thinking about it. Even the late E3 Expo was considered a mecca for gamers around the world, until it sadly went up in flames. Rest in peace. For Nintendo fans, our mecca was Nintendo headquarters in Kyoto. I mean, it's just a bland office building that only employees are allowed to enter, but that didn't stop fans worldwide from taking pictures in front of it as if it was the royal palace. I say was our mecca because there is a new once-in-a-lifetime must-see location for Nintendo fans. And no, it's not Super Nintendo World at USJ or Orlando, although those are highly recommended. Our new Nintendo Mecca is the Nintendo Museum. Although it's not exactly new, the original building was an old manufacturing plant for Nintendo, first built in 1969, that mainly focused on playing cards, Hanafuda, and customer service for product repairs. In 2016, that production moved to the newer Uji plant, leaving the building without a purpose until the Nintendo Museum took over in 2024. I don't recall many fans going out of their way to visit the plant when it was active, or if foreign fans even knew about it. At least I didn't, the filthy casual that I am. But now with this transformation into a gamer tourist trap, thousands have already begun to flock to its doors, including myself. When the museum was first officially revealed, I noticed a lot of negativity from some of the bigger names in the game journalist and influencer world. They wanted less of a showcase experience and more of an investigative, deep, dark secrets look into Nintendo's history, or at least turn on the nightlight into the darkness that is Nintendo's backstory. While I could see those arguments, I thought the museum looked creative, and I still wanted to take a look for myself. Now that I made my pilgrimage to the Nintendo Museum, is it worth it? My short answer? If you are a die-hard Nintendo fan, absolutely yes! You're probably not shocked. Okay, you can go now. Sorry to keep you waiting. Go get your tickets. Go order them now. But if you want a more in-depth and comprehensive answer, keep watching. The Nintendo Museum is less about the untold secrets of the 135-year-old company and more about the history and products it wants you to see, particularly focusing on the creations that made it the global entity it is today. Video games. Who could have guessed video games? What? Wait, Nintendo makes video games? The main exhibit guides you through a gallery of Nintendo gaming, touching on each generation since their first arcade cabinet from the 70s. You won't find developer interviews or creator highlights, and if you're hoping to learn more about the development teams and how they tick, you'll be severely disappointed. True to its philosophy, Nintendo is all about the products, not the people behind them. Not even the father of Donkey Kong and Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, is mentioned as far as I can tell. Instead, you'll learn and read about each Nintendo published hardware and the software that defined its time in the sun. Now, unfortunately, this section of the museum is camera prohibited, so I wasn't able to capture any footage. Thank you, Miyamoto, for providing the B-roll you see now. The one exception being the Nintendo Switch display smack dab in the middle of the exhibit floor. For some reason, they just let you film it. I don't know why this was okay, but the amazing collection of GBA games was off limits. Another thank you to the Nintendo Museum website for providing this image. I think it's less about trade secrets and more about not spoiling it and also encouraging people to come see for themselves. But anyway, I'll describe it the best way I can. Another slight tangent before I continue. While I was at the museum, pre-orders for the Switch 2 went live in the US, so I had to battle with online bots and scammers to get my copy, all while wandering the museum. Something about that felt very meta when it was happening. I wouldn't be surprised if they thought I was sneakily taking pictures with my phone. Nintendo, I swear, I was just trying to give you more money, please. Thankfully, I had plenty of time to enjoy the museum once I finally secured my pre-order. Now back to the museum. Each display is packed with unique console iterations and influential titles from all across the globe, albeit published by Nintendo. It was neat comparing the different box art for the same games and noting the regional differences. Sure, you could easily search this online, but seeing it in person helps you get a better frame of reference for the differences in the art and size of the boxes. I also appreciated the loop of games playing above as a visual and audio experience. The most interesting part of the displays, however, is on the back side. They don't show this in the direct video, probably to keep it as a surprise, but these hidden walls were, for me, the star of the top floor. The best way I could describe it is a professionally designed collage. Thankfully, I have this picture which kind of helps you visualize what the other displays could have been like. They featured some unique console variations, details about what made the generation stand out from the others, and what famous series started in that era, among other things. Even some standout third-party products and games got honorable mentions, game cases included. That might not seem like a lot, but I personally loved reading about what made a console special from Nintendo's point of view. How they see a product can differ from a fan's perspective, giving me a new appreciation for some of my favorite systems. While the booths are the main attraction here, there are other displays looping around the floor, touching on all the aspects of Nintendo's product history. From Game & Watch, exercise equipment, and toy products you wouldn't believe, to displays that featured all of Nintendo's major franchises. Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Kirby, Splatoon, Metroid, etc. Even Fire Emblem had a little corner to admire. Considering I really couldn't find much Fire Emblem merch while I was in Japan this time around, it was nice to at least see that. Pokemon also featured its own private display, which surprised me that they were even there, since the Pokemon Company doesn't always associate with Nintendo directly, but there they were. Granted, there's not much to read or learn about any of these displays, Pokemon or Mario or Zelda or what have you, except for maybe chronological order of things, but it was still neat to see so many items gathered in one place. One other standout wall feature that I just want to mention was the side-by-side screen display of Nintendo's major franchises, showing the evolution of the series from their first title to the latest Switch iteration. I unfortunately can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there was for sure Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid, Donkey Kong, and Fire Emblem. But I think there may have been one or two others, I can't remember exactly. Similar to the game boxes, you can probably just find a YouTube video that shows the transformation over time, but it's still neat to see Nintendo acknowledging that change and displaying it in this way. I am going to throw in here a severely minor critique, but I just want to put it out there. There is a lack of Xenoblade representation. I know it's a relatively new franchise and doesn't sell as well as, say, Splatoon, but as a fan, I was hoping to see a little corner of Xenoblade mentioned. That said, they do give a small shout out to the series in the Wii section since that's where it started. But still, I mean, Xenoblade is proven to be a good franchise for them. Whatever. It's fine. It's new. Monolith Soft's a great studio. I'm sure they'll get their due eventually. On the bottom floor are short hands-on exhibits that are supposed to be reminiscent of famous Nintendo products throughout its history. However, you are limited to how many you can try. Each ticket gets you 10 coins that you exchange to play, with some games being worth more coins than others. This means you won't be able to play every single game Nintendo has to offer here, so you have to pick and choose wisely. I'm not sure why Nintendo thought to do it this way. It could be they want people to come again and try the ones they missed, or they want to keep the mass of people moving and not just play the games endlessly. Whatever the case, you only have 10 coins, so be smart on whatever you choose to play. On this trip, I ended up only playing 4 games: Zapper and Scope SP, Big Controller, Ultra Machine SP, and Nintendo Classics. Thankfully, you were allowed to take pictures on this floor, so there will be some B-roll. Not much of me in it, but there is some. By far the best one is Zapper and Scope. It's like taking the classic Duck Hunt living room experience and blowing it up to amusement park size, shooting down hundreds of Bowser's minions through the 3 stages. And it worked surprisingly well. I don't know why I thought it could have been a disaster, but it was great. It's fantastic. You can choose either the NES Zapper or the Super Scope, but I recommend the Zapper for the quicker trigger and ease of aiming. Take it from me, who got first place. I didn't get a trophy or anything, but I had the pride of first place. That's all that matters. I'm the fastest Zapper in the West, or East, or whatever. Speaking of the Zappers, one thing that shocked me about Nintendo's history was how many gun-related toys they've created over the years. There's an entire wall near the Zapper entrance showcasing their collection of toy guns. I guess that was a really hot product for them during the 70s and 80s. It makes more sense now why they developed the Zapper and the Super Scope. And now I'm wondering when they're going to release the Switch 2 Zapper. Give the people what they want, Nintendo! Link's Crossbow Training 2. The next best hands-on exhibit was the giant controller, if you're with another person. If you're by yourself, you just can't even play it. Sorry. Yes, it's just the same classic Nintendo games we've all played, but the hilarious huge buttons created a new layer of challenge that I thought was worth the wait. You have to tackle the game you choose as a team in order to succeed. One takes the left half, the other takes the right half, and you have to be okay with which half you have. Fortunately, I had my brother with me who is inherently talented at platformer games, so we passed through Super Mario World with little problem once we got a feel for the controls. I didn't have to do much, to be honest, and that's probably for the best. Still had a good time. From there, I played other Nintendo classics on normal screens and controllers. This room was just Nintendo Switch Online, so if you have that at home already, there might not be a reason to play here. That said, you can choose between the English or the Japanese library, so if there is an exclusive Japanese game you've been meaning to try, this could be your best chance. I mean, it's all in Japanese, and you could technically still do that at home if you have a Japanese account, but you might as well try it while you're in Japan, right? Okay, there's really no point, but I did it anyway. First playing Link to the Past, one of my favorite SNES games, and then switching on over to the Japanese side and playing Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, a game that I have never had the opportunity to play because it's never come out to the West. Finally, I got my chance. The timer ran out by the time I got through the dialogue, but hey, the story was getting good from what I could read. Please bring Fire Emblem 4 to the West Nintendo. I don't care if it's a remake or just a port, translate a port, bring it over. Lastly was the Ultra Machine SP. This one was disappointing. I liked the setup, but the execution was lackluster. Basically, it's a batting cage for your home, and when you hit certain items in the cage, you trigger a sound or action. Well, there's no indication what will trigger, so I was hitting the ball into places where nothing happened. Also, I found out I suck at baseball, not the slugger I thought I was. So maybe in the end this was just a user error situation, but I didn't find the cage all that fun. Maybe you want to try it still, I don't know, it's up to you. I feel like there are better games. Now these are only 4 out of the 8 potential exhibits to try, so I can't speak on all of them, but based on these 4, I had a great time, particularly with the Zapper and Big Controller. If those didn't sound appealing to you, then I can almost guarantee you'll find it a waste of time. You may not want to even come, I don't know, or maybe the first 4 is enough for you. I think the Zapper itself is worth going to the museum on top of everything else you do. It's really fun. Aside from the games, there's also some smaller displays on the bottom floor for various Nintendo products, including the guns I mentioned, various cards like Pokemon cards and Fire Emblem Cypher Zero, art books and strategy guides, Hyakunin Issue, and more. Nothing mind-blowing or news-breaking, but it was neat to see the Fire Emblem cards at least. There are also some extra cost experiences at this museum, creating Hanafuda and learning how to play it. But I decided to skip out on that. It just didn't seem appealing to me. I can learn how to play Hanafuda on my own, and whatever I create is going to be 100 times worse than whatever Nintendo makes. I also missed out on the Hatena Burger Cafe. That, on the other hand, I regret not trying. I had the time, I just didn't do it. And yeah, I regret not doing it. Not because I heard it was good. In fact, I've only heard mediocre reviews. But I wish I would have tried it myself to have in this review and also see inside the cafe. But maybe next time. Once you exit that bottom floor, you'll be taken to the museum store, where Nintendo has tried extra hard to get as much money out of you as physically possible. I mean, yeesh, these prices. That said, there are some pretty cool souvenirs here, whether museum or game related. I ended up buying this Nintendo Switch shirt there. I don't know if you can see it, but yep, there it is. They had shirts for almost all the generations of gaming, I believe, all the console generations, I should say. And Switch being my favorite console of all time at this point, I decided to buy the Switch shirt. But, you know, you could buy one of those shirts or get a Nintendo Museum shirt, which is really pricey, but it's up to you. I was tempted to walk off with one of those giant controller pillows, probably one of the coolest museum merch items I've seen. No idea how Westerners get that back home though. Once you exit the museum, or even when you're coming in, you can do this, there are a couple of picture opportunities for you to enjoy, like jumping out of a warp pipe or admiring Mario or DK Jr. climbing the flagpole. You can even sit down for a break in this area, maybe to let the kids run around, I don't know. It's really not much, but I like what they tried to do, and it's really a nice, picturesque area. You can take a few pictures, and I think it's worth Instagram worthy, I should say. And that's about it for my museum trip. I came in with lowest expectations, and I came away impressed with the experience overall. I will admit, I do wish they told some developer stories and dedicated a section for the people behind the company I love, like Gunpei Yokoi, Shigeru Miyamoto, and Satoru Iwata. But because I knew beforehand that sort of tribute would not be there, I wasn't too disappointed. I wasn't disappointed at all. That being said, I'm curious how much they will update the museum over time. With the Switch 2 launching, will they create a spot for it a few years down the line? Could they create new games to play on the bottom floor, like adding GameCube games to the NSO section? Would they eventually be willing to tell the story of their people and developer teams, and not just their products? I can't say for sure that will happen, and honestly, for some of those I just don't think they will happen. But I did share in a survey Nintendo sent me that I would like to see those things eventually added, plus a little more love for Xenoblade. I did put that plug in there. If we all share the same feedback, they may at least consider it. Before I wrap up the video, here are some of my tips for you if you're planning on visiting the museum. First off, the lottery system. Be sure you plan ahead when you'll be in Kyoto and dedicate time getting to the museum. Nintendo starts accepting lottery entries 3 months in advance, so be sure to sign up for your desired dates and times exactly 3 months before, on the dot. Then Nintendo awards tickets 2 months prior to the date, so be sure you're checking your email for that ticket confirmation. If you end up not getting the tickets, you can purchase tickets a little closer to your desired date, but those are few in number and go quickly. They may not even be any by the time you try to buy the tickets. Try all your options, but know that the lottery is your best bet. How many times has someone told you that? Not many. As to why Nintendo does this lottery system, besides the Japanese just loving it for almost anything exclusive, I think it's a logistical reason. The area around the museum is quite small and close to other businesses. If anybody could buy a ticket at any time, there would be a massive line around the building with people wanting to get in, creating a hazard and bother for the locals. The limited lottery is a good way to keep the traffic down, in my mind at least. Now, getting to the museum is another thing. Since there is limited space near the museum and no parking lots unless you have accessibility needs, public transportation is your only way to go. Well, unless you somehow have a hotel within walking distance, but I don't recommend finding one in Ogura unless you like a lot of walking. There's really not a whole lot in Ogura to begin with. No offense to the Ogura Tourism Board. Your best bet is to take a train line to Ogura Station and then walk 5 to 10 minutes to the museum. If you have oversized luggage like I did since I came directly from the airport, the staff will take care of it until you're ready to leave the museum. They even let me leave it there before I was allowed to go in, just as long as I had a ticket. So as long as you have a museum ticket and a time that day, you're good to leave it with them. I don't recall seeing this anywhere on their website, so I'm not sure if they want this broadcasted or not, but I'm doing it anyway. If this was a special case scenario, thank you Nintendo, you really helped me out, but I have a feeling they do this for anybody with luggage that's just too big for the lockers. Also note that the closest airports to Ogura, and Kyoto in general, are about an hour away, so please plan accordingly when you pick your times. If you're trying to get to a 1:30 p.m. entry time, you should make sure your plane lands no later than 11 a.m., giving you plenty of time to grab your luggage, figure out your route, visit your hotel if needs be, and get to the museum on time. Or don't plan your museum trip at the same time you fly to Osaka. Easy way to avoid that. Speaking from experience, I flew from northern Japan to Osaka and then took the train to Kyoto. It was doable and the staff did take my luggage graciously, but I can't recommend that for everybody. I hope these tips help you out, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them the best I can. I'm no travel expert, but I might be able to help out a little bit. Returning to the title of this video, is the Nintendo Museum worth it? Well, it depends on what you're expecting to get out of it. Hopefully I've set your expectations well enough for it to be a wonderful time. But again, if you're expecting a deep dive in Nintendo company lore and essays about influential employees, you'll be pouting and fuming the entire time. But if you just want to admire Nintendo's history, and particularly within gaming over the years, then I think you'll be pretty satisfied with this experience. As for myself, I had a great time, and would gladly go again the next time I'm in Japan, particularly with friends who are Nintendo fans like me. And if Nintendo happens to add a new exhibit, Xenoblade, all the more reason to go. Who says you can't make your once-in-a-lifetime Mecca pilgrimage more than once? My bank account says that I can't right now. But eventually, I'll make it back. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little trip into the Nintendo Museum. I know it's kind of different from my normal content, but I wanted to get a little bit of my trip to Japan. And I'm hoping to do some of my other Nintendo-related trip stuff later on as well. My trip to Super Nintendo World, and even some of the Pokemon centers and Nintendo stores in Japan. Well, there's only one Nintendo store, but you know what I mean. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope you liked it. Please share with other people, and again, if you have any questions about traveling to Nintendo Museum or about the museum itself, please ask them in the comments below. Next up is definitely going to be Switch 2 stuff. I mean, that's just coming up next week, I believe. So hopefully we'll see you there for that when I stream Super Mario Kart World. Until then, we'll see you later. Yahoo!